Okay, this is the Unit 7 and 8 review for 6th grade science. These units were about energy, electricity, and magnetism. So the first thing we're going to review are the different forms of energy and what exactly energy is. So remember, energy is an ability of an object to transform itself or to produce changes in other objects. Remember, energy cannot be created or destroyed. Some of the forms of energy that we learned about are mechanical energy, thermal energy or heat, electromagnetic energy such as light or sound waves, electrical energy, chemical energy, and nuclear energy. And one thing that you need to remember is that potential energy is a type of mechanical energy. It exists as potential movement. And one of the ways that we visualize potential energy is an object that is up in the air or is in a position where it can fall. And when it's in the position that it can fall, it has a lot of potential energy. And as the object falls, it loses its potential energy. Okay, so after reviewing the forms of energy, we can talk about energy transformation. Remember, energy can change from one form to another. Here are some everyday examples of energy transformation. We have the transformation of light into chemical energy. We have the transformation of electrical energy into thermal energy, such as when we cook on the stove or in the oven. We have the transformation of chemical energy into mechanical energy when we turn calories from food we have eaten into the mechanical energy of movement. We have chemical energy that turns into mechanical energy, such as when the petrol in our car is turned into the mechanical energy of the car's movement. Okay, sometimes we have two types of energy transformations occurring at the same time. So don't forget, an example of that might be electrical energy on the stove. It is turning into both thermal energy with the heat, but it's also producing light energy. Because remember, when you turn on the stove, you can see light coming from the stove. Okay. After we reviewed the forms of energy and energy transformation, we talked about renewable and non-renewable energy sources. Some of the renewable energy sources that we learned about are biomass, solar, water, wind, geothermal. Renewable energy sources, or alternative energy sources, are replaced naturally and are unlimited. Some of the non-renewable energy sources that we learned about are oil, coal, natural gas, and nuclear energy. Non-renewable energy sources are limited because nature doesn't replace them quickly. Remember, non-renewable energy sources cause pollution or contamination. Okay, in the next unit, in Unit 8, we started to learn about electricity. The first thing we have to remember is that everything is made of atoms. Atoms contain two types of particles. They contain protons, which are positively charged, and electrons, which are negatively charged. Okay, so in the picture you can see that the red particles are protons and the blue particles are electrons. When an object has more protons than electrons, it is positively charged. When an object has more electrons than protons, it is negatively charged. When it has an equal number of both, it is electrically neutral. Most objects around us are electrically neutral. Okay, so the next thing we learned is that opposites attract. When electrically charged objects have opposite charges, they attract one another. So you can see in this picture, these two balloons are representing a negatively charged object and a positively charged object, and they are attracted to one another. When electrically charged objects have identical charges, they repel one another. Okay, so in this picture, these balloons are representing two objects that have the same charge. It's possible that they both have a positive charge or that they both have a negative charge, and they are repelling one another. The same as in this picture with the balloon and the aluminum can, right? They are repelling one another. The next concept that we learned about is electric currents. Don't forget that electrons can move from object to object. This movement is called an electric current. We learned about two types of materials, conductors and insulators. Conductors are materials that conduct electric currents easily. Insulators are materials that don't conduct electric currents very easily. Some examples of conductors are metal, such as copper, aluminum, and iron. Some examples of insulators are rubber, wood, and plastic. Now that we know about electric currents, we can talk about electric circuits. In an electric circuit, the electric current is conducted along a path and is used to do work. An electric circuit has four parts. The first part is a power source. In this picture, it's a battery. The second part is a conductor. In this picture, it's a copper wire. The third part is a resistor. In this case, the resistor is a lamp or a light bulb. And the fourth part is a switch. And you can see the switch in this picture right here. Okay. Don't forget, an electric circuit can be closed or open. In a closed circuit, the electricity can flow. In an open circuit, the electricity can't flow. Usually the switch is the place in the circuit where we open and close the circuit. Resistors are devices that change electricity into another form of energy. That could be light, heat, movement, or sound. In this picture, we have a resistor that's converting the electric energy, or the electricity, into light energy. In another type of circuit, we might have a radio that's converting electricity into sound energy. The next concept that we talked about is magnetism. Magnetism is a property of some materials. Magnets attract iron and certain other metals. Every magnet has a north magnetic pole and a south magnetic pole. Remember, if we break a magnet in half, each of those new pieces, or each of the new halves, is going to have a north magnetic pole and a south magnetic pole. Just like we learned about with electrically charged objects, opposites attract and identicals repel. So identical poles, meaning two north poles or two south poles, will repel one another. Opposite poles will attract one another. So if we place a north magnetic pole and a south magnetic pole next to one another, they will attract. One of the last concepts that we talked about is an electromagnet. An electromagnet is a device that acts like a magnet. That means it behaves like a magnet when an electric current passes through it. So an electromagnet is similar to an electric circuit in that it can be open or it could be closed. In this picture, we have an electromagnet that's made out of a nail that is an iron nail. It could be any object made out of iron. And we have a conductor of copper wire that you can see wrapped around the nail. And then those are connected to a battery or the power source. So similar to an electric circuit, an electromagnet has a conductor, such as copper wiring, and a power source, such as a battery. And finally, it has an iron nail. The iron object is the object that becomes magnetized when the circuit is closed or on. On this page, you can see that there's some videos that might help you to review Units 7 and 8. So if you click on these links, you can go and watch the videos. Some of the information or some of the speech might be very quick or might be complicated, but there are some demonstrations in the videos that might be interesting or at least help you to review some of what we've talked about. Okay? So these are some slides that can help you practice the concepts that you need to review for the test. In this, you can try to figure out which sources of energy are renewable and which are non-renewable, which are not renewable. So the sources are biomass, coal, geothermal, hydropower or water power, natural gas, petroleum or oil, propane, solar, uranium or nuclear, and wind. On this slide, you can use these pictures to do a bit of speaking practice with the energy concepts. So in each of these pictures, what you could practice doing is explaining the energy transformation that you see occurring in the picture. So using your own words, try to explain the energy transformation happening in these pictures. In this picture, it's labeled to make it easier: kinetic energy, potential energy, and kinetic energy. In the other two pictures, you'd have to figure out what types of energy is being transformed. Okay, finally, this is a picture of an electric circuit. So for the exam, you should definitely be able to name the 4 parts of an electric circuit and explain how an electric circuit works. You'd have to be able to explain the difference between an open circuit and a closed circuit, what a resistor is, and what types of materials we would need to make an electric circuit. Okay, so that's the end of the review for Units 7 and 8 Science.